have you wanted to be someone that people recommend, that people talk about, and how even 10 years from now, your name could be even greater than it is today because of what you do today? Well, we are sitting here with Omar, the king of brand reputation and YouTube. Omar, thank you for being with the Sales Girls today.
Yeah, we just got stopped. And she said, I love your few videos. My favorite one was with Omar.
Hey.
And I said, it's
Isn't that
one
powerful?
day because we're about to come upstairs and do it again. Yeah, it's huge.
They say sales in your sleep, but it's like brand and reputation in your sleep.
Yeah.
That is honestly something like really new.
Yeah.
Because that's not something that Instagram stories that disappear in 24 hours can do. And that's really how we built our brand. And a lot of people who listen to this know that. But you're like, YouTube is like, it's compounding, the compounding interest.
Yeah, it is. It's powerful. It's funny. I just saw a DM this morning from somebody who said, hey, Omar, I was on your web class and I'm going to do your thing, your challenge. But, so like, he said, I'm going to do the thing that you're selling. Okay. He said, but I just love how you love your daughter and that you're connected to the local church. Like, he loved my personal brand more than my business per se. And I think if I can equate or connect why he even bought the thing, it was because of the brand and less about what I did to get him to buy, you know? And there is like this beautiful, I guess you could say, rhythm when you do it the right way. The issue is people are building their brands, whether they know it or not. Their absence from the platform, you're building your brand. And then also, if you are building it unintentionally, you're also creating the idea that you lack intention with your brand. So yeah, I have found that, like, yes, intentionally, we're in a time where if you build your personal brand the right way, and you're known for the right thing, dude, it's like opportunity is going to be knocking.
So what is the right way?
I would first go all the way back to like knowing who you are. So you don't want to build your brand on somebody you're not, because then, you know, they say integrity is who you are in various rooms. So like the more rooms you have to change who you are in, the more exhausting it's going to be. But when you're okay with who you are, and in my case, when you know whose you are, then you can just be okay with your insecurities, the things that make you you.
Yeah.
And then I would say putting that on display. And I don't mean just like airing out all your weaknesses and stuff, but letting people know the things that you struggled with, or when you're okay with that, you'll be okay to communicate, hey man, like I actually was a very average student. And then people who are watching you are going to say, oh my goodness, I was so average, and look at this guy. And then there's that connection that takes place. So being okay with who you are is kind of where it starts before you even put yourself out there.
It's really good. I mean, you said that he said, I love the way you love Ruby, your daughter, that you love the local church. And it's like so cool to think just the things I love relate to people.
Yeah.
And I was reading somewhere where like reputation and like brand reputation values, it all aligns a ton.
Yes.
Can you speak more to that when you just share what you value personally, how that builds your brand or your reputation?
I'll kind of try to make it like very approachable. So people struggle with like picking a niche.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about more or less how do you include more of you within your niche. Wow. So like you could be known for in a specific industry, but who you are is who you are. There's one of zero. You're one of zero. You know, there's nobody like you. But me and my friend Neil Dingra kind of came up with these, and they're the 5 Fs. These are things that you can share that don't have to necessarily be about your niche per se. It's about you. And it's faith, family, fitness, fashion, or food. When you're consistent at displaying these 5 elements, whether it's like wearing your favorite team's jersey when you do stuff, or you know, we all know Alex Hormozi does never skip dessert.
Right.
Yeah.
These are things that bridge a connection.
Faith, family, food, fitness, fashion.
So good.
How fun. It's like sales girl thing.
Yeah. And so just to give you some real life examples of how that opening up that side online to my audience has brought opportunity. You know, we're in Myron Golden's program.
Yeah.
And he knows that I golf.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that I golf because I told him I know how to golf. He knows that I golf because I post that I golf. Yeah. I would put that in fitness, kind of falls into that, right? And he invited me for 2 days of golf, just because I golf. I started putting on display my fitness journey. I want to get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And just how people jump on that and want to be supportive because maybe they were once there, or, hey, I'm going to do this with you.
Yeah.
It just creates community, really.
It's really cool because we all have those things in common, but we all have different perspectives on what we have in common. And like Macy's history and just like being naturally fashionable has really bled into all of us. Like I was a dietitian, so it's like food and like money, health, like the strength of brands and what you value come to life a lot of times and magnetize people.
Yeah, Omar, you've really helped me with this idea of personal brand. I've resisted it a lot, and I want to tell you why. Because you really emphasize the right way, and that's intentionally. When I was having my second baby, I had a nurse that walked in that was like a soldier. You know those people? They're like taking care of everything and typing. And I was like, wow, this woman knows what she's doing. That's what my thought was. She was there on purpose. And I just love it when people show up to their platforms like on a mission, on purpose, for a reason. I love that. I'm like, I'm not confused of your ability. I'm not confused of your purpose. I know you're here to do one thing. And as you know, you have 2 kids. As the labor goes on, you start to open up with people. You start to get a little more comfortable. And so she starts kind of like opening up about this divorce she's going through, and her kids are calling her and all of these things that might distract her, which is kind of like her personal brand. She shared a little bit. And I didn't doubt her as a nurse. It just doubted her ability to focus. And it created a sense of nervousness in me of like, I had to get this done so that I know that like we're just done with her, you know. And that might sound bad, but I'm just like, when I think about people who share personal brand in the wrong way, I think about it like that. Where it's like, I'm confused of like why you're here. I'm confused of your ability to focus and your ability to like really help and be here for the right reason. It's kind of like a baseball coach. Once you win the championship, he doesn't necessarily go celebrate with his team. He's like, y'all go celebrate. I'm here to like coach you and to lead you, but y'all do your thing. That's how I envision personal brand versus like my purpose. And I've always just wanted to keep those separate because I don't want nobody to be confused of why I am here and doing my thing. It is to help you learn how to sell so that your life can change.
Yeah.
But you've helped me see like, oh, it can be gasoline on the fire, not distraction from the mission.
Really good.
And so I'm still warming up to it, but you've helped me the most out of everybody.
That's awesome.
So thank you.
Let's go. No, and the reality is personal brand, it starts in the human experience because even when you hire somebody, you're going to hire them because you feel like hiring them.
Right.
There's going to be something about them that's going to make you feel more inclined about it. Did they show up early to the interview? You know, are they active on social media? And active as in like, what are they posting? Right. Like you're actually going to what is who they are as a person. And so, I mean, when somebody's always late to a meeting or is disrespectful, that's their brand. That's their brand. What do you think about when you think about them? I love Alex Hormozi actually defines branding as the association between 2 things. So when you think of Omar, what do you connect it to? Maybe I would like to think that like it's the things that I put up consistently online is what you connect it to quality content or family or ministry. All that stuff.
Can you speak to, because you made a comment earlier of like, I'm not a very good student, but I had this result. So it's kind of like an insecurity to connect and to inspire and to like make sense with the content. But like, how do you be, I almost like, I don't even love the word authentic because sometimes I feel like people force it being authentic for the sake of being authentic. And then it's like, just to kind of get attention in the wrong way.
Yeah. Amen.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So how do you kind of walk that line in a way that's productive?
That's really good. Maybe rather than like an extreme to decide on, it's probably a tension to be managed. That's kind of a phrase that Craig Rochelle uses a lot.
Yes, I love it.
And it's, I mean, personally, there are things I don't display online, and I think the intuition that I have to not portray somebody I'm not, or even let somebody in on something way more deeper of who I am, like that's reserved for me and my wife or my best friend, or
Right.
I think the thing I probably run it through is, will this encourage, inspire, empower, educate somebody?
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. Maybe, my pastor, it's wild. He's like incredibly gifted, and he actually was really first known to be a worship leader. That's why people would bring him out. And then he felt a desire and also was called to preach. and he has a lisp, and it's very apparent. It's like strong lisp, and he has one of the biggest voices in the local church right now, and he gets invited to speak at on the biggest stages, and he has a lisp, and it's crazy good, but you get over it when you know you're supposed to do what you're called to do. And so maybe that's where you weigh it. It's like, you know, if I'm really called to do this thing, then I feel like by I don't even know if this is kind of like a long-winded answer, but I think it yields a conversation to know that there is some intention behind what you do choose to tell people that you struggled with, you know. But it's good.
Yeah.
And I used to struggle with money. I used to struggle with charging. I used to struggle with earning, all that stuff. And because I've been vocal about it, and because I've grown in it, I never talk past or show past what I don't know.
Yeah, that's critical.
But that has made people feel like, oh my goodness, if Omar can do it, then I probably can too.
And it's in the arena that you work in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like something that you're dealing with that makes sense to talk about. I think that's important too. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100.
Yeah.
And so I say all that to say, most people are kind of hesitant to get started on this, put myself out there online, because they feel like it's either crowded or oversaturated or it's too late. But the distinction is the opportunity. So if there's no one like you, then you don't have competition.
So good. And no one is like you.
And no one, yeah. And no one is like no one.
Yeah.
So you're better off just being and I think in so many cases it's like, because of the way you look and because of the way you talk and because of your experiences is why somebody is going to be attracted to your brand. But as long as we're worried about what other people think, I feel like it'll be a longer process to like unpack that.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
I have a question, but I'll let you.
Well, you stay on this because I want to talk about the long game.
That's where I was going.
Oh, perfect.
We have the same brain.
That's perfect. Well, I mean, I opened this up by talking about in 10 years, like your name could be compounded.
Oh my goodness.
Not just like, the first time you post or whatever, you just re-upped your Instagram. It's so just the platform of YouTube. So can you talk about consistency, the long game, and how like that really is critical and essential to the mission I personally need to preach to?
Hype us up.
Yeah.
On the long game of YouTube.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think first we have to all understand that you cannot build a brand overnight.
Yeah.
You build a brand over time. And so
good.
It's hard to give handles to people when you just need to see it through for a long time. Handles. When I say handles, I mean like tactics or like, just do this, do this tomorrow.
Like buttons.
Yeah. But the reality is what I really hope people get is that, yes, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15 years from now, people will say, I've been following you for a long time.
Yeah.
And how do you get there? You get there by just being consistent over a long period of time. And it's actually the struggle I have trying to, I guess you could say, sell what I sell, helping people with their personal brand and maybe give them clarity and whether they're starting to take it more serious. But this is why I tell people before anything, you just have to pre-decide. So the pre-decision of, okay, I want my name, I want what I know to be known for something that will allow me to not only create the freedom to do what I want when I want, to experience opportunities that I wouldn't have otherwise. Myron talked about it, and it's my life experience. It is so easy for me to get in rooms, get on stages, invite people to do podcasts, like, because I have a presence online. But more than just a presence, there's also a history. And so I feel like that's maybe that will, as people listen to this, like that is what you're doing. You're creating an archive of you online. Yeah. And the journey is actually beautiful. So if you look at like the pro YouTubers, like the Mr. Beasts, or I like MKBHD, he's like the top tech YouTuber who caused a company to go into bankruptcy just based on a review he made on a car.
No. Wow.
That's how much influence he
Are you
had.
kidding me?
Yes, they went into bankruptcy, and he was just giving an honest review.
Oh my God.
Right. But if you go,
Scary.
I know. But it's also empowering to know that some kid who just started posting YouTube videos eventually grew to a place where he had more leverage to affect a company's whole business plan, you know?
It's funny because my sales brain, we talk about people like will know us and they don't buy from us for more than a year sometimes, which is a pretty long buying cycle. And I swear people just want to see if you stay in the game long enough.
Honestly.
But like, if nothing that we said or did that changed, it's
Nope.
just like, oh, okay, I guess they're sticking around then.
100%. Some people were honest about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, I just want to see if you like care enough
Yeah.
to stay with it.
I had thought about consistency, that your coach brain might be able to coach someone virtually right now, aka maybe me. So I hear this a lot, where people are just like really worried about their next step. Like you said something, and my brain immediately went to like, oh yeah, like most people worry about the tangible thing to do, which is colors, logos, business cards. And I know that sounds so basic, and people still do it.
Right.
They 100%
Website.
do. They're so fired up about what they did today, and it's like they got colors that complimented.
Right.
You know? And like that's what we think brand is. And so it's like I'm just so or another example is like, do I post my daughter going to school or do I not? Do I post fashion or do I not? It's like the minutia. And you're probably over here like, this is a long game. This is about 10 years, and do all the F's like come together to be valuable for somebody else.
Okay, so I'll try to paint the picture with what Instagram used to be.
Okay.
So Instagram was all about aesthetic at one point.
Yeah,
Remember?
it was.
You had to
100%.
apply the right preset on all your content, and if your feed didn't like flow together, like you weren't legit.
Yeah.
And then I just remember Gary Vee comes on the scene, and it's just the ugliest feed. Like it was kind of just messy, but all he cared about was like the effectiveness of each piece of content. The fact that each piece of content was more effective, and then so posting effective over pretty over a long period of time created this super high valuable brand that when he releases a book, people buy 10 copies.
Yeah.
So are people going to buy 10 copies from whatever it is you sell, or 10 whatever, because your stuff is pretty? No, they're going to buy it because they feel like it. The moment I started making my stuff less about the aesthetics and more about the effectiveness, then is when I started seeing people really connect.
Yeah.
And if you look at my feed now,
You're talking about Instagram specifically.
yeah, and I'm talking about like content in general.
And what did that look like for you at the time, practically?
It looked like, well, how is this most helpful?
Yeah.
You know, like
So you think not about yourself, but about someone else.
exactly.
Like, what are they going through? What can I say? And therefore you spend more time on them than your own.
And so even when my podcast on YouTube, it wasn't even about aesthetics. Like, I mean, I wasn't making cute, pretty anything like vlogs or whatever. I was just making very helpful videos.
Yeah.
And then the brand is created over time. So I would even say with my podcast, which I'm like 11 months in, and it's grown a ton. I've grown over 50,000 subscribers, almost 2 million views on YouTube. And I didn't even know what my podcast was really going to be about till about episode 15.
Wow.
Which is like 3 months in.
Yeah.
I love that.
Maybe 4 months.
That's like a lifetime when you're unsure.
Yeah.
Or
Oh no, yeah.
confused.
Oh, I was posting
Most people wouldn't know.
I had a friend at church he's a professional UFC fighter. I'm like, bro, let's do a podcast. And then, I had a guy who collects sneakers. So I was like, let's do a podcast.
And you don't even remember what you were asking them.
No, I did know that like I wanted to unpack like how they got where they were.
Yeah.
But it didn't become something until a longer period of time.
And you're not even talking about the roots that you have from a decade before that moment?
For sure.
Yeah.
So yeah.
My brain.
It was like, it was 3 months, but it wasn't.
Exactly. It's like you have an essence about you and wisdom that helps you navigate where you actually take a conversation. So with that said, would you mind like defining and talking about and unpacking what helpful even is? Because there's like tactical helpful, there's just your presence is helpful because of the angles that you see things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about what is helpful.
I think the most simple way I could put it is you become most helpful when you do make it about the person, right? So most people, when they tell me they want to start creating content or they want to start building their personal brand, it starts with, I want to build, or I want to start a YouTube channel where I talk about my journey in.
I replace my income.
Yeah, and I know they think
recurring events.
yeah, and I know they think that by talking about them, it'll connect with
Yeah.
but even just in the conversation, I could just tell, like, you're gonna run out. And so the reason why I never
what
content,
yeah,
eventually you will run out of ideas.
yeah,
And
and belief and enthusiasm and
all that.
and conviction.
Right.
How do you can't be convicted about yourself.
Right.
It's
No.
like impossible.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. You're
And-
so right.
And so it's crazy because, like, we are seeing in the creator economy, there are creators that have done their job. Like they're retired creators already.
Yeah.
Like Casey Neistat is an OG vlogger, and he's kind of had two he's kind of given it two efforts,
Yeah.
and with long breaks in between.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing, like, oh, now there's veteran creatives or creators and stuff. But I believe creator burnout happens because you weren't serving to begin with, or it didn't come from a place of service. It came from an empty well, And I personally, I think with my face on it, I'm probably at 400 to 500 videos on YouTube with my face on it, meaning start to completion,
The brands
ideation.
you've worked for.
Other brands I've worked for, like, my face is on 500 plus videos on YouTube, and I still have endless ideas.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's because I tapped into the person that I know I want to serve and help. And that's if I'm obsessed with this thing, yes, I'm leaning into my obsession, but I'm not making it about me or making it for me,
Right.
So that's what's helped me constantly just be curious. Like, I'm constantly curious. And I would say my curiosity has been the secret sauce to my podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It's because and my curiosity, a part of it is from my place, but I'm playing audience's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
That's so good.
And that's why even when I do a solo podcast, I don't do it alone. I include my video person, Art, and I include my operations person, Mariella, who don't necessarily have, like, the expertise to add, but that's actually the point. Oh, wow. The point is so they can be like, so when you say be the content, you mean, like, record videos, like, talking to a camera? No, that's not what I mean. But that means Mariella would have just brought up something that a listener was probably thinking.
Yeah.
So not only does it add the audience, like, interest at heart, best interest at heart, for having them on my solo episodes.
Wow.
But it also, every time they open up their mouth, it re-engages the listener or the viewer.
It's so amazing that you are describing conversations right now.
Yeah.
Like, your solo podcast is, right, a conversation. The connection with other people is what fuels the creation, which is how you make a contribution to the world with, like, what you're put on earth to do.
You just put, like, alliteration on a framework, and you just made a framework and made it sound tight and everything.
And that's like the jam.
Yeah.
Connect with people.
Oh, that's it. I had a master communicator on my podcast. He speaks at, like, 250 churches a year.
Wow.
It's incredible. I asked him, what's the goal of communication? He said, bro, the goal of communication is connection.
Yeah.
If you're talking and no one's connecting, you're not communicating.
Well, one thing about just that concept that I want someone to read between the lines or connect is that you, like, broke a rule. It's not a solo podcast. It's connect, but your goal isn't, like, how can I just, like, follow the rules, be a solo podcast, face cam, blah, blah. You're like, how can I include the people? That's your question. That's your curiosity.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm going to let them be curious, and then we're going to go back and forth.
Right.
So that the audience actually feels like this is for them, because it is.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
There was one of the guy I worked with, his name is Sean Cannell. He's, like, one of the gurus when it comes to YouTube education. And he has this saying, and it's so true. He says, the creator that understands the viewer best wins. The more you understand the viewer, and that's where I'm coming from. Before I even have a conversation with you guys, like our first podcast we did together, I'm like, where was this going to go? You know?
And the thing is, like, well, you know this is happening, but I don't think people realize that this is happening. When someone asks a question, there's always a reason why they're asking.
Yeah.
And that reason why they're asking is actually what you want to speak to. not the actual question itself. So anytime someone I know for me, if someone were to ask me a question, the question itself says so much about them. So if someone were to ask me, what is the last movie you went to go see? I know so much about them. The fact that they go to the movie, they value entertainment. They think I value entertainment in that way. I couldn't tell you last time I've been to a movie. But it's like, okay, so why are they asking me that? Are they asking me because they love acting? They want to be an actor? Because they want to go to the movies with me? Because they're trying to just have small... It's just, you've learned so much about people from the questions that they ask.
100.
And I think what's interesting about this connect and create, like when people come from a place of, I want to create a YouTube video because if I want to blah, 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 they go straight to connect, or excuse me, they go straight to create, thinking that's like the fast track to the ultimate goal that they have, when really that connect is the fast track to creating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100.
And I think like what you do that 10 years before you started, you actually spent so much time connecting with people. You actually had a substance to start that 3-month trial period. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Those are your roots.
Yeah, and there's like the unseen. I mean, we all should experience the unseen seasons.
Yeah.
You know, and if someone's listening or watching this, you might feel like you're unseen or unheard, but use this as an opportunity. When I was a behind the scenes person, I have a funny story. Like when I was working in ministry, or I wasn't even working, I was volunteering first.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a...
if you don't start as a volunteer, you can't do this.
Yeah, right. No. But I remember the church, and the church I was at wasn't a big church, you know, but they had TD Jakes come, and he was coming for a special revival night. And I'm like, heck yeah, like TD Jakes is coming to my church. I'm about to get a word, you know, all that stuff. And I just remember it was actually Sean Cannell, you know, at the time. But the media director was like, here, bro, make sure you grab photos and videos. And I was like, what are you going to do? He's like, oh, the staff is going to be like at the front row. In my mind, I was like, bro, what the heck, dude? Like, I want to enjoy this moment, you know, whatever. But I remember that was such a key moment because I remember I wanted to be a part of that experience, but instead I was like, had to be the fly on the wall and like, and just do the thing. And that, I say all that to say, I say that story, it was dozens and dozens of moments like that where I wanted to be a part of the conversation or be a part of the thing. But I always remembered when I was behind the camera and I was filming, whether it was the pastor or I was creating small business promos and making everybody else look amazing. I always thought to myself, like, if I did it, I would do it this way. Or if I were to say that, I would probably say it this way. And sometimes the guy behind the camera it's unsolicited advice because you're behind the camera. Yeah. Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
But like now, people are like, bro, you're like really good at communicating. Man, you like really have a way. You have a presence. But that was a lot of just me zipping my mouth and was observing,
watch and learn,
and like playing it in your own mind,
playing it in my own mind.
Yeah.
And even taking, you know, like the mental notes of like, oh, I love what they did there, you know. And then I mean, I probably filmed, I don't know, hundreds of interviews, you know, and so, yeah, the unseen seasons does prepare you, and so this is why it's okay. I don't ever want to make people feel like they need to be posting online right now. No, if you haven't done anything, and you have you maybe you don't have anything to speak on. Like, maybe you don't post right now.
That's right.
Maybe you go do the thing, go build the thing. Yeah. And you could talk about it.
And I mean, Gary Vee maybe he would say, document yourself learning it.
Yeah. And that would be the frame to like, if you do want to start now and maybe go ahead, like share the journey. Yeah. And that'd be really cool. And it might even be worth doing that for your kids.
Yeah.
So I call legacy content. So cool. So like you're creating something for either someone to follow the journey on, maybe it's yourself, or like legit your kids.
I have a girly example. May I share it?
Yes,
please. Well, just because I know their brains are like, what does that mean? I could or I shouldn't? Or my personal example right now is coming out of like the maternity leave season, right? Like the 4 months postpartum, and I'm like, I'm done having kids. I'm buying real clothes, people. You know, like no more stretchy dresses for me. I'm wearing pants unbuttoned. And people are like, oh my gosh, let me know, like, where are you buying quality clothes? I'm done having kids too. What colors are you wearing? And I just want to know. So my point is, like, I'm not in this like perfect season. I'm not waiting to arrive at a fitness level where I'm like, hey, I'm buying clothes, people. come with me because we're all on this journey together, as you love it.
Yeah.
As long as you're honest about the frame in which you are approaching it. Like, what you do consistently becomes like who you are and like what you're known for and the people around you. I just can't get out the visual out of my head of how it's when it's something on YouTube. It's not just one person, one video. It's like 100, then 10,000, and then whatever it could be. And we don't have high views right now, but I still see it as the potential for something like that. Like, I just am like overwhelmed in a good way of what's possible. That whole tribe of people can feel connected to somebody.
Speaking of roots, my mindset for YouTube is, I wish we did this 10 years ago. The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is today.
Amen.
And so that's been our mindset.
Amen.
And we appreciate you so much.